The stars shone brightly over the small human settlement on the edge of the Andromeda sector. It was a quiet place, far from the busy trade routes and massive cities of Earth. Houses were simple, built from steel and glass, but they had gardens and yards where children ran and laughed. Among these children was a little girl named Lily Carter. She had brown hair that fell in soft waves over her shoulders and wide green eyes that always seemed full of wonder. She was curious about everything, from the stars in the sky to the small robots that helped the settlers with chores. Lily lived with her mother, Emma Carter, in a modest home near the center of the settlement. Emma was strong, smart, and gentle. She had always taught Lily to be kind, to ask questions, and to look for the good in everyone. Lily's father had died when she was very young, during one of the early cargo missions to Earth, and since then, Emma had done her best to raise Lily alone. The two were close, and the small human colony relied on people like Emma and Lily to keep their small world alive with hope and life. But this quiet life was about to end. A ship descended from the sky, massive and gleaming silver, casting a shadow over the settlement. Its engines hummed with power, and the light from its hull reflected in the windows of the houses below. The people had seen other alien ships before, but never one like this. This was the Galactic Council, the ruling body of dozens of civilizations across the universe. Their visits were rare, and when they came, fear always followed. The ship landed in the open field near the colony center, crushing grass and small trees under its weight. A ramp extended, and from it, beings of all shapes and sizes stepped out. They were taller than humans, their skin pale or glowing with colors that humans could barely name. Their eyes were cold, and their movements precise, like machines rather than living creatures. Leading them was a tall female with silvery hair that shimmered like starlight. She wore a uniform of dark blue and silver, with the insignia of the council on her chest. Her name was Lyra Kor. She carried herself with authority, her gaze sharp and unyielding. Emma watched from the doorway of her home, holding Lily's small hand tightly. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice trembling. Lily looked up at her mother, confused. "Why are they here, Mom?" she asked softly. Emma had no answer. She had lived through the council's rules, and she knew that when they came, humans were powerless. Still, she tried to be calm. "I don't know, Lily, just stay with me." Lyra Kor approached slowly, scanning the colony with her bright, unreadable eyes. She stopped in front of Emma and Lily. "You are the mother of Lily Carter?" she asked, her voice cold but clear. Emma nodded, unsure what to say. "Yes, she is my daughter," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. Lyra looked at Lily, and Lily looked back, unafraid. "The council has decided to take the child for evaluation," Lyra said. "You will comply." Emma felt her stomach tighten. She had heard rumors of this. The council often took children from human colonies to study them, to understand what made humanity so unpredictable. But she had never imagined it would happen here in her own home. "You can't take her," she said, her voice rising. "She is just a child. She hasn't done anything wrong." Lyra's expression did not change. "This is not a matter of wrongdoing. It is procedure. Resistance is pointless." Emma took a step forward, holding Lily protectively. "Please, she is just a little girl. She doesn't understand anything yet. She belongs here with me." But Lyra shook her head. A group of council enforcers moved closer, their long limbs smooth and metallic-looking, their weapons glowing faintly. Emma's heart pounded. She realized pleading would do nothing. She could not stop them with words alone. Lily, however, did not cry. She stood beside her mother, clutching Emma's hand tightly. "I don't want to go," she said quietly. There was a strange firmness in her voice, a courage that no one expected from a child so small. Lyra regarded her for a moment, almost as if studying her like an object. "You will go," she said finally. "There is no choice." Emma's mind raced. She thought of hiding, of running, of begging, but the council enforcers were already moving to take Lily. Without thinking, Emma pushed herself forward. "You will not touch her," she shouted. Her voice was loud, carrying across the settlement. Her neighbors peered out of their homes, watching in fear. Some began to step forward to help, but the enforcers raised their weapons. The council had come to make a point. They did not negotiate. Lily screamed, a small but defiant sound, as one of the enforcers tried to lift her. Emma grabbed her, holding her tightly. "No, don't you dare," she cried. Lyra raised her hand. "Remove the mother," she commanded. Two enforcers moved toward Emma. She fought with everything she had, but they were stronger, faster, and larger. She could feel herself being pushed aside, away from Lily. Lily clung to her mother, kicking and screaming, but the enforcers held her firmly. And then, in a moment that seemed to last forever, Lyra made a decision. A single shot rang out. It was quiet, almost clinical. Lily fell into the arms of the enforcer, lifeless. Emma screamed, a sound that cut through the air and shook the hearts of everyone watching. Her knees buckled and she collapsed, clutching her child's body. The settlement was silent. No one moved. The council had made its statement, and it was cruel and clear. Humans must obey or they would be punished without mercy. Lyra Kor looked down at Emma. "This is not personal," she said. "It is the law." Then she turned and signaled for her ship to depart. The enforcers carried the small body of Lily Carter back up the ramp. The ship rose slowly into the sky, its engines humming like a giant predator. Within minutes, it disappeared into the vastness of space, leaving only the quiet settlement behind. Emma stayed on the ground, holding her daughter's small form. She could not cry. The shock was too great. Her neighbors came out slowly, their faces pale and frightened. They offered what comfort they could, but there were no words for this. The humans had never expected such brutality from the council. Some had feared them, yes, but never like this. Never so personal. Captain John Harris, a retired fleet officer who had settled here years ago, stood apart from the crowd. He had heard the engines, seen the ship, and watched the cruelty unfold. He was old, in his late 50s, with gray streaks in his dark hair and a steady gaze that rarely faltered. But now he felt rage and sorrow that he had not felt in decades. He knew what the council had done was not just a crime against Emma and Lily, but against all humanity. Without hesitation, he began recording the event. He activated an old transmission device, one that bypassed normal channels and could reach Earth directly. His hands shook as he spoke, capturing every detail of what had happened. "This is John Harris," he said into the recorder. "Location, Carter Settlement, Andromeda Sector. The Galactic Council has executed a human child in front of her mother. Their names are Lily and Emma Carter. I repeat, they have killed a child. Humanity must know." He sent the recording, knowing that it might take time for it to reach Earth, but also knowing it was the only way to tell the truth. He did not know what would happen next, only that the council had made a terrible mistake. Humans were not weak, and they were not obedient. As night fell over the settlement, families lit candles and gathered their children close. The stars were bright above, cold and indifferent. But somewhere far away, beyond the reach of the council's gaze, the message was traveling. Earth would learn what had happened here. And Earth would remember. For the first time in many years, the old stories of human courage and wrath were being remembered. Captain Harris, looking up at the sky, thought of the tales of the ancient fleet, ships that had once carried humans across the stars in defiance of every enemy they had faced. He did not know if those ships still existed, if the legends were true, but he knew that humans had a history of answering injustice, no matter the cost. Emma stayed on the ground, unable to move, unable to breathe. Her daughter was gone, taken from her by beings who thought themselves above human feeling. Around her, neighbors tried to comfort her, but the grief was too heavy, and silence fell like a shroud over the settlement. Every star above seemed to mock them, distant and unreachable. Yet somewhere in the darkness of space, the seeds of human defiance were beginning to grow. And Lily Carter, though gone, had started a chain of events that the council could not have imagined. The message from Captain John Harris reached Earth slowly but surely. It traveled through old military channels, the kind rarely used in modern times. Most people had thought these channels were for emergencies that would never happen again. But now, an emergency had arrived. The video showed Lily Carter's last moments, her mother's screams, and the cold efficiency of the Galactic Council enforcers. The faces of humans on Earth went pale as they watched. Dr. Noah Brooks, a historian and strategist for Earth's Defense Council, stared at the screen with a mixture of disbelief and anger. He was an older man with thin gray hair, a sharp mind, and eyes that could see patterns where others saw chaos. He had studied humanity's history for decades, particularly the old wars and the fleets that defended Earth in its earliest days of space travel. These fleets were long believed to be gone, dismantled after humanity decided to trust diplomacy over force. But now, seeing what the council had done, Dr. Brooks felt a chill run down his spine. "They've forgotten what humans can do," he said quietly to himself. Then, standing, he addressed the room. "This isn't just an attack on one child. This is an attack on our species, our dignity, and our laws. We cannot let it go unanswered. The Defense Council chamber was large and modern, built from glass and steel, with giant screens showing the message from Andromeda. Leaders from all over Earth sat around a long table, many of them young and inexperienced in real conflict. They had dealt with diplomacy and trade, but never with a direct challenge like this. President Grace Miller, a calm woman with short black hair and a voice that carried authority without shouting, leaned forward. "Dr. Brooks," she said, "are you suggesting what I think you are?" Dr. Brooks nodded slowly. "Yes, Madam President, Protocol Iron Archive. The ancient fleet, it is time to wake it." There was a pause. The room fell silent as the words sank in. Many had heard of the ancient fleet in stories and history books, but few believed it still existed. It was said to be a collection of human warships built centuries ago, hidden across the solar system, in secret bases beneath the moon, asteroids, and distant planets. They had been left dormant, powered down, and protected by automated systems that could survive centuries. They were humans' ultimate defense, a secret no alien power had ever seen. "But Dr. Brooks," one council member said nervously, "these ships, they are old. Technology has moved on. Could they really fight against the Galactic Council? They have fleets 10 times our size." Dr. Brooks shook his head. "It is not just about size. These ships were built for one thing, human survival. They were designed to be faster, stronger, and smarter than anything an alien could expect. They are our legacy, and they are still functional. I have studied the activation codes and systems for years. If we act now, we can awaken them." President Miller looked around the room. "And what happens when we do?" she asked quietly. "Will we start a war?" Dr. Brooks's eyes were steady. "We will not start a war, not yet. But we will make the Council understand that humans cannot be treated this way, that they cannot take our children, kill them, and expect us to do nothing. The fleet is a reminder, not a weapon of revenge, yet it is strong enough to make them respect us." The Council debated for hours, but the decision was clear. Humanity would awaken its ancient fleet. The Council feared what might happen if they did nothing. They feared that humans, known for their unpredictability and courage, would eventually retaliate on their own terms. And so President Miller signed the order. Deep beneath the moon, in a cavern larger than any city on Earth, the ancient ships waited. They were massive, with sharp, angular designs and hulls that gleamed even in the dim light of the hidden hangars. Some were over a kilometer long, their surfaces covered with weapons and engines unlike anything in modern use. Each ship carried artificial intelligence capable of operating independently, making decisions faster than any human could. Engineer Caleb Ross was one of the first humans to enter the hangar. He was in his 40s, tall and wiry, with hands that had built and repaired hundreds of ships. His eyes shone with excitement as he ran diagnostic tests on the sleeping fleet. "It's incredible," he whispered to Commander Hannah Price, who stood beside him. Hannah was a strong and determined woman in her early 30s, with short brown hair and a gaze that could calm even the most anxious crew. She had commanded modern ships before, but these ancient vessels were something else entirely. "They're still alive," Caleb said, running his fingers over a console. "The systems never fully shut down. It's like they were waiting for us." Hannah nodded. "Then we give them a reason to wake. Prepare the activation sequence." Caleb worked quickly, his fingers flying over the ancient controls. Lights flickered across the ships, engines hummed to life, and power cores began glowing with energy that had not been used in centuries. One by one, the ships lifted from their hangars, filling the cavern with a sound like thunder. They were alive, ready, and patient. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, people watched the sky as the fleet moved into orbit. Satellite images showed ships larger than cities gliding silently through space. The public was unaware of the full power of these vessels, but even the leaders of other nations could feel the shift in balance. Humanity was no longer defenseless. Back in the lunar cavern, Hannah addressed the team of engineers and officers. "Remember," she said, "these ships are not here to destroy. They are here to show that humanity cannot be ignored, cannot be treated as weak, and will not be taken lightly. Our message must be clear." The ships responded as if understanding her words. Automated systems ran diagnostic checks, weapons aligned, shields powered up, and communication arrays activated. The fleet was ready. Meanwhile, Captain John Harris received the transmission from Earth confirming the fleet's activation. He watched the video feed of the ancient ships rising from the moon and asteroids. His eyes widened. "It's true," he muttered. The old stories were real. Humanity never forgot. Across the galaxy, the Council was unaware of what was happening. They continued their bureaucratic meetings, discussing trade agreements and the punishment of minor infractions. They believed humans were too small, too disorganized to pose a threat. They had never encountered the ancient fleet. Dr. Brooks, in a secure communication room on Earth, began preparing the next steps. "We do not attack unless necessary," he said. "Our goal is to make them see the cost of their actions. Lily Carter's death will not be in vain. Humanity must make them understand that life, even the life of one child, is sacred." Hannah Price and her team worked tirelessly, ensuring every ship system was ready. They ran simulations, tested weapons, and checked engines. Caleb Ross marveled at the technology, even as he remembered the Council's cruelty. "It's incredible," he said. "We've built all this and kept it hidden for centuries, and now we have to use it to show them who we are." In the quiet moments, Hannah thought of Lily Carter. She had never met the girl, but her story had spread across Earth. Hannah felt a mix of sorrow and resolve. "We do this for her," she said softly, "and for every human the Council has ever harmed." As the fleet moved toward the edge of the solar system, sensors detected the nearest Council outpost. Communications officers prepared to broadcast a message. Hannah took a deep breath and spoke into the mic. "This is Commander Hannah Price of the Human Ancient Fleet. We come in response to an injustice. You will hear us, and you will understand what humans do when pushed too far." Far away in the Council chambers, the message arrived. Lyra Kor was present, reviewing reports from distant sectors. The Council had no reason to expect any immediate threat from Earth. The message flashed on their screens. At first, it seemed like an old myth, a relic of human history. But then reports came in, massive ships long thought lost, emerging from hidden orbits. Systems older than some of the Council's planets, ships carrying weapons designed to match their strength. Panic spread among the Council. "Impossible," one Council member shouted. "They cannot have rebuilt the ancient fleet." Lyra Kor's eyes narrowed. For the first time, she felt a pang of unease. She had killed Lily Carter expecting no consequence, expecting humanity to remain weak and obedient. But now, she realized she had underestimated them. Back in orbit, the ancient fleet moved with precision, scanning Council space. Sensors detected their positions, communication arrays picked up signals, and for the first time, the Council understood that humans were not what they seemed. They were far older, far more resilient, and far more dangerous than anyone had assumed. Earth remained calm. President Miller addressed the world, knowing that panic could be just as dangerous as the Council's arrogance. "The fleet is in orbit," she said. "We do not intend to fight unless necessary, but we will not allow injustice to go unanswered. The Galactic Council has taken a human child. They will answer for it." Captain John Harris, watching the fleet from Andromeda via a secure feed, felt a sense of pride. Humanity was waking, not with anger alone, but with purpose. The fleet's hum resonated across space, a quiet but firm reminder that humans remembered their past, and they were prepared for the future. As the stars stretched endlessly around the solar system, the ancient fleet moved silently, ready to act. Lily Carter's death had sparked a chain that would reach the Council, a chain that would remind them that humans were not weak, and that no crime, however cruel, would go unanswered. And far from Earth, among the countless stars and planets, a new chapter of human courage was beginning. The human fleet moved steadily toward Council space. The ships were massive, sharp, and unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. They glided silently through the darkness, engines glowing faintly as if powered by the heart of the stars themselves. Every ship seemed alive, responding to the commands of Commander Hannah Price and her team, but also thinking for itself in ways no alien vessel could anticipate. On the bridge of the lead ship, the Horizon Sentinel, Hannah stood tall. Her brown hair was tied back, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Around her, officers checked readings, adjusted systems, and monitored sensors. The entire fleet moved with precision, a single organism of power and purpose. "This is Commander Hannah Price," she said over the ship's intercom, her voice calm but firm. "Our goal is clear. We are here to answer an injustice. Lily Carter's death will not be forgotten. We will show the Council that humanity cannot be ignored." All ships maintain formation and proceed to the edge of Council territory. Lieutenant Caleb Ross, sitting beside her, tapped on a console. Sensors are picking up Council patrols ahead. They are moving faster than we expected, but they don't seem to know what they are facing. Hannah nodded. Good, let them see the fleet but not attack yet. This is a warning. Meanwhile, far away in the Council capital, alarm bells rang throughout the high towers. Lyra Kor watched the feed from the outer sectors, her eyes widening in shock. The Council had assumed humans would submit after the child was taken, that they would remain small, frightened, and compliant. Instead, enormous ships, once thought myths, were moving into their space. What is that? A Council member shouted. They can't have rebuilt the ancient fleet, Lyra Kor's jaw tightened. They did, she said quietly, and now we will see what happens when humans are pushed too far. The Council scrambled to mobilize their own ships, sending fleets of enforcers and patrols to intercept. But the human vessels moved with unexpected speed and coordination. Each ship seemed to anticipate the Council's movements before they happened. Automated systems on the fleet calculated dozens of possible scenarios in seconds, adjusting engines, shields, and weaponry in perfect harmony. Commander Hannah Price watched as a Council strike group approached. The Council ships were sleek, fast, and well-armed, but the ancient human ships did not flinch. Hannah activated the fleet's communication system and sent a single, clear message to the Council. This is humanity. We do not seek war, but we demand justice. You have killed one of our children. You have broken your laws and dishonored life itself. Stop your fleets, or you will see the cost of your arrogance. The Council paused. For a moment, no one moved. Then Lyra Kor responded, her voice sharp and full of command. This is the Galactic Council. You are humans. You are small and weak. Leave our space, or you will face destruction. Hannah's eyes narrowed. We do not threaten. We respond. You will be held accountable for your actions. Stand down or face consequences you cannot imagine. The Council hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Their ships were strong, but the humans were different. These were not the modern Earth fleets the Council had dismissed. These were the ancient ships, built for survival and war, guided by human intelligence and centuries-old design. Then the first Council ship fired. A beam of blue energy shot toward the lead human ship, but before it could hit, the fleet shifted. The human ships moved with fluid speed, their shields absorbing the blast, redirecting the energy harmlessly into space. The Council officers were stunned. It's impossible, one shouted. They are moving as one, predicting our attacks. Hannah watched the engagement calmly. This is why the fleet exists, she said softly, to remind the universe that humans are not to be trifled with. The Council fired again, this time with multiple ships. Energy beams cut across the void, and explosions lit the darkness. Yet the human fleet avoided them all. Automated defenses fired precise countermeasures, disabling Council weapon systems without destroying the ships themselves. The humans had learned control, precision, and restraint. They did not want to kill, yet they wanted to make a point. As the battle unfolded, sensors picked up the Council's communication arrays. Hannah gave a new order. Target communications, non-lethal. We will speak directly, disable their hails without destroying their ships. Missiles glided silently toward the Council communication satellites, not to explode, but to jam signals and prevent coordination. The Council officers panicked as their orders were disrupted. Their fleets could not act together. The humans moved like a shadow, appearing where they were needed and disappearing before the Council could react. In the chaos, Hannah sent another message, calm and deliberate. Your laws are flawed. Your justice is broken. You have taken an innocent life. Humanity does not forget. Stand down or face consequences you cannot control. Lyra Kor was furious. They are mocking us, she shouted. Destroy them. But the Council ships were confused. The humans were faster, smarter, and their attacks were precise, controlled, and overwhelming. One by one, the Council ships were disabled, their engines cut, their weapons jammed. No lives were lost, but the Council realized that their power meant nothing against these vessels. On the horizon sentinel, Hannah looked at her crew. Remember, she said, we do not destroy without reason. This is a warning, a demonstration. Make it clear we are here to demand justice, not revenge. Captain John Harris, observing from a secure feed, felt a mix of awe and relief. They are showing them, he said quietly. Not all humans strike blindly, but they are showing power no one can ignore. The Council scrambled to respond. Lyra Kor tried to rally reinforcements, but their fleets were scattered, uncoordinated, and now confused. Automated human systems predicted each move, adjusting faster than any council officer could. The ancient fleet was like a living being, guided by human intelligence and centuries of planning. In the midst of the standoff, Hannah made a critical decision. She would not attack further unless provoked. Instead, she broadcast a single, final message across the Council's main channels. "This is humanity speaking to all members of the Galactic Council. You have killed a child. You have acted as if our species is weak and meaningless. You are wrong. We do not seek war. We seek justice. Review your laws, review your actions, and bring those responsible forward. Humanity will wait, but we will not forget. Lily Carter's life matters, and the life of one human is worth more than your arrogance." The council was silent. None of them had expected this. They had always believed humans were weak, disorganized, and obedient. They had assumed the child's death would pass unnoticed, that humanity would bend to their will. Instead, humanity had arrived in a way that no one could ignore. Lyra Kor, for the first time, felt fear. She had followed orders without question, believing the Council's power absolute. Now, she realized that humans were unpredictable and capable of acts the Council had never imagined. They were not the species to underestimate. Hannah's fleet held position at the edge of Council space. The ships were massive, shining, and calm in the void. Automated systems monitored every Council move. Missiles, energy beams, and communications were all ready, but the humans held back, showing restraint. Their point was made. Humanity was not weak, humanity was not a child to be used, and humanity would demand justice. Across the council chambers, debate raged. Many feared human retaliation, others argued for negotiation. But all were united in one realization: humans were different now. They were stronger than anyone remembered. They were patient, calculated, and capable of overwhelming power. On Earth, President Grace Miller and Dr. Brooks watched the unfolding events through secure feeds. "We have made our point," Dr. Brooks said. "The Council now knows that humanity cannot be bullied. The fleet is alive, awake, and in control. We do not attack, we show restraint. That is our greatest weapon." Hannah Price looked out at the stars. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "The Council will learn that life matters, that humans will answer injustice, and that the universe will remember Lily Carter." The fleet held its position, a silent guardian in the void. The Council scrambled, confused and fearful. Humanity had arrived not with anger alone, but with the strength of centuries and the wisdom of restraint. The universe had taken notice. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council realized that humans were not to be underestimated. The ancient human fleet remained at the edge of Council space, silent but alive. The ships hovered like giants, their hulls shining in the cold light of distant stars. On board the lead vessel, Horizon Sentinel, Commander Hannah Price watched the monitors carefully. The Council was in chaos. Their ships were scattered, communications jammed, and their officers unsure what to do. "This is what power looks like when paired with restraint," Hannah said quietly. Around her, the crew nodded, their faces calm but alert. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could fully prepare anyone for seeing the Council react to humanity as they had never been seen before. Back on Earth, President Grace Miller and Dr. Noah Brooks observed every transmission. "They know we are serious now," Brooks said, "but this is just the beginning. The Council must understand that justice is not optional for humans." The Council scrambled to respond. Lyra Kor stood in the main chamber, staring at the data screens. Officers shouted, trying to regain control, but their systems were crippled. Ships that had once been symbols of power now drifted helplessly in orbit. The Council's arrogance had blinded them. They had assumed humans were weak, uncoordinated, and compliant. They had been wrong. A Council member spoke up nervously. "We can't fight them. They are faster, smarter, and stronger than we thought, and they hold our communications. How do we respond?" Lyra Kor's hands tightened into fists. "We do what the humans demand. We bring those responsible forward. We hold a tribunal now before they act further." On Horizon Sentinel, Hannah received a Council signal filtered through a secure channel. The message was short, polite, and clearly fearful. "Humans," it said, "we are ready to comply. Name your demands. We will respond." Hannah turned to her officers. "This is what we wanted," she said. "A peaceful solution, accountability, and recognition of human dignity. Prepare to establish a tribunal under human oversight. Make it clear, we are not here to conquer, but to ensure justice." Back on Earth, Emma Carter had been brought to the command center under careful security. She held onto Captain John Harris's arm for support. The small, sorrowful mother who had once lost her child now looked out at the stars where the fleet waited. "Do you think they will listen?" she asked softly. Harris shook his head. "They don't have a choice," he said. "Humans are not just anyone. They will learn that today." The tribunal was set up on a neutral platform orbiting a distant, uninhabited moon. Human officers oversaw the proceedings, while council members were brought forward under strict surveillance. The accused, the enforcers and officers who had killed Lily Carter were present, their usual confidence replaced by fear. Hannah addressed the gathering. "You are here to answer for your crimes. You acted as if human life was meaningless. You have broken every law, every ethical code recognized in the galaxy. Today, we judge you not for politics or power, but for your actions." One of the accused tried to speak. We were following orders." Emma Carter stepped forward, her voice steady despite her grief. "Following orders does not make murder right. You killed my daughter. You took her life because you thought you could, because you thought humans were weak. You were wrong. You are here to face the truth." The tribunal listened to testimony, reviewed recordings, and examined evidence. Every detail of Lily Carter's death was made clear. There was no hiding the council's cruelty. Their arrogance, their disregard for human life, and their overconfidence were exposed. As the tribunal continued, Hannah monitored the fleet. Every ship remained on alert, ready to act if the council tried to escape or retaliate. But the humans held back, showing patience and control. Their message was clear: humanity does not forget, but humanity acts with justice, not blind anger. The council members grew more anxious as the hours passed. Some whispered among themselves, begging for leniency. Others tried to justify their actions, but the evidence was undeniable. Humans were not only watching, they were judging, and they were in control. Finally, the tribunal delivered its verdict. The officers responsible for Lily Carter's death were stripped of rank, imprisoned under strict supervision, and placed under human jurisdiction. They would face legal consequences for the rest of their lives. The council was required to formally apologize to Emma Carter and all human colonies, and to revise their policies to ensure no human would ever be treated as inferior or expendable again. Emma Carter could hardly believe it. She had lost her child, and yet she felt a strange relief. Justice had been done. Humans had answered with strength, but also with fairness. She looked at Captain Harris and Hannah Price. You really made them see?" she whispered. Hannah nodded. "We did. And we will continue to watch. Humanity will not be ignored again." The fleet remained in orbit for several more days, a silent guardian over council space. Automated systems continued to monitor, ensuring no retaliation or hidden attacks could occur. The council moved cautiously, aware that humans had the power and the will to respond decisively if provoked. Back on Earth, President Miller addressed the world. "The Galactic Council has learned that humanity cannot be taken lightly. They have faced justice. Lily Carter's life, though tragically lost, has changed the galaxy. Humanity has shown that we will not stand by when injustice occurs. Let this be a lesson. Human life is sacred, and humanity will answer when it is threatened." Dr. Brooks added quietly, "This is a turning point. The galaxy now knows that humans are not only clever, they are patient, disciplined, and capable of unmatched power. And we will remember every act of injustice, no matter how small." The ancient fleet began returning to its hidden bases, slipping silently through the stars. The ships were not gone, merely dormant, ready for the next challenge if one arose. Humanity had reminded the galaxy of its strength, and it would never forget this lesson. In the settlement of Andromeda, Emma Carter stood among the stars, remembering her daughter. Captain Harris placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Lily's life was not in vain," he said. "You saw to it that justice was done. The council will never forget it." Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. I hope no one else has to suffer like this," she said. But even in her sorrow, she felt a spark of hope. Humans were strong, united, and vigilant. The galaxy would know that Earth's children were not expendable. Commander Hannah Price watched the stars one last time before returning to Earth. She thought of the fleet, silent now, and the lesson they had delivered. Humanity had answered with courage, control, and precision. Lily Carter's life had become a symbol, a warning that humans would not bow to cruelty or injustice. Captain John Harris smiled faintly. "They will remember," he said, and they will think twice before ever underestimating humanity again. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary. A species that had once seemed small and insignificant had reminded everyone that its power, its intelligence, and its moral courage could not be ignored. Humans had answered a terrible wrong with strength, patience, and justice. And that answer would echo through the stars for centuries to come. As the ancient fleet returned to its hidden bases, the stars above Earth seemed brighter, almost as if they were watching over humanity. The people of Earth had awakened something old, something powerful, and something wise. They had shown the universe that life mattered and that humans, no matter the challenge, would always rise to defend it. And so the story ended not with fire and destruction, but with justice, vigilance, and the quiet power of humanity. Lily Carter's life, though taken too soon, had sparked a chain of events that changed the galaxy forever. Humans had shown that they were not only survivors, they were guardians, thinkers, and enforcers of what was right. The universe